"Supporting you," Mom announced. I opened my laptop, showing my net worth, $500 million. The dinner table felt colder than usual, not because of the air conditioning, but because of the silence that settled after my mother spoke. "Sweetheart," she said, her voice trembling with a carefully rehearsed sympathy, "your brother needs your support." Support. That word used to mean love in this house. Now it meant money. I didn't respond. I just looked around the table, the expensive chandelier, the polished plates, the faces pretending to care. It was the same room where, years ago, they laughed when I said I'd make something of myself. Where my father had once said, "Dreamers starve, son, be practical." Where my mother had looked away, saying nothing. Now she couldn't even meet my eyes. Across from me sat my brother, smug, charming, wearing a smile that looked borrowed, the kind of smile you wear when you've already won. He had that air of careless confidence that only someone who's been bailed out too many times can carry. I felt the old ache rise again, the one I thought I'd buried long ago. But I didn't let it show. Instead, I reached for my laptop, calmly, quietly, and as the room fell silent, I opened it. The blue glow lit my face as I said, with the faintest hint of a smile, "Supporting him, Mom?" My fingers tapped the trackpad. The screen came alive. My name, my company, my net worth, $500 million. Her fork slipped from her hand, and in that tiny metallic sound, I heard the beginning of my revenge. I used to think betrayal was loud, screaming, doors slamming, shattered glass. But no, betrayal whispers. It hides behind polite smiles and family dinners. Years ago, when I was building my first company, I needed a small loan. Not much, just enough to launch. Mom said she couldn't help. "Your father doesn't believe in your ideas," she'd told me. And when I turned to my brother for support, he laughed. "You? Tech? Come on, man, be serious." I believed them. I believed in them. So I left. I worked nights, slept in an empty office, lived on instant noodles and stubbornness. And every time I closed my eyes, I heard their voices, laughing, doubting, dismissing. It became my fuel. Years later, when success came, I didn't call them, they called me. "Your father's sick. Your brother's business failed. Your mother's worried." They found me when they needed me, and I played along, because revenge tastes better when it's served slow. Tonight was no different. My brother's startup had collapsed under debt. He blamed investors, economy, fate, everything except himself. Now, Mom wanted me to support him, as if the past had dissolved into forgiveness. Her eyes darted toward me, searching for warmth that no longer existed. My silence made her nervous. She didn't know I'd already seen the bank transfers, the ones where she'd quietly funneled my inheritance into my brother's failed company years ago. She thought I never found out, but I did, and I never forgot. The room grew heavier with each passing second. My brother cleared his throat. "It's just temporary," he said. "Once I'm back on my feet—" I raised a hand. He stopped. It wasn't anger that silenced him. It was calm. Cold, surgical calm. "I read your proposal," I said. He blinked. "You did?" 3 times. I leaned back in my chair, voice steady. "You're asking for $2 million. Again." He shifted uncomfortably. "It's an investment." I smiled. "Just like the last one?" His jaw clenched. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her wine. I looked at her instead. "Remember when I asked you for help, Mom, for just $5,000? She froze. I could almost see the memory crawl back into her eyes. She looked away. "That was different." "No," I said quietly. "It wasn't." I turned the laptop slightly, letting the soft light spill across their faces. My company's profile glowed on the screen. Investors, assets, valuation. The empire they said I'd never build. My voice lowered. "You didn't believe in me then. You mocked me. You chose him." No one spoke. Not even my father. He just sat there, fragile and old, eyes fixed on his plate as if hiding from the truth. I wasn't angry anymore. I'd been angry once, for years. Now, I was simply done, but not finished. I closed the laptop. The silence that followed was suffocating. I let it linger. Then, slowly, I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder, laid it on the table between the wine glasses and untouched food. "What's this?" my brother asked. I didn't answer. Mom reached for it. Inside, copies of old bank statements, legal documents, signatures. Proof that she'd taken my inheritance, the money Dad had left for my education, and reallocated it to my brother's company. I watched the color drain from her face. She looked at me, lips trembling. I did it for your future, both of you. He needed help? And I didn't?" My voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes glistened. "You were always stronger. I knew you'd survive." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Survive?" I repeated. "That's what you call it?" I stood up slowly, every movement deliberate, precise. "You left me to survive, while he failed, and you called it love." My brother slammed his hand on the table. "You're being dramatic. This isn't about the past." I turned to him, expression flat. "No, this is about patterns and accountability." He scoffed, but there was fear in his eyes now, because he saw it. The power shift, the reversal of years of dependence. He was small now, and I was the storm he helped create. I opened the laptop again. This time, I didn't show numbers. I showed names. A new company, a joint venture, and a board of directors, one of whom was sitting quietly in the corner this whole time. "Mrs. Harris," I said, "thank you for coming." My brother's face went pale. His ex-fiancée's mother smiled politely, nodding. He hadn't noticed her when he walked in. Now, every drop of blood drained from his face. She was one of my new investors, and the woman whose daughter he had humiliated, cheated on, and abandoned years ago. Revenge doesn't always come through fire. Sometimes it arrives in a signature. I looked at Mom. "I'm not here to support him," I said quietly. "I'm here to buy him out." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I turned the laptop again. His company's remains, his debts, his brand, his assets, all under a pending acquisition agreement. Mine. He whispered. "You wouldn't?" I did. "You took my future once," I said. "I'm just returning the favor." I hit enter. The contract finalized on screen. Mrs. Harris smiled faintly, satisfaction glinting in her eyes. My brother's company was gone, absorbed, erased. He sank back, defeated. Mom covered her mouth, tears finally falling. But I felt nothing, just the cold satisfaction of balance restored. When dinner ended, they stayed seated, quiet, broken, small. I stood by the doorway, watching them drown in the silence they once fed me. Mom looked up, voice cracking. "You've changed." I nodded. "No, Mom, I just stopped needing your approval." I picked up my coat, paused at the door, turned back one last time. "Next time you announce your support," I said softly, "make sure it's not for the person who's already sinking." Her eyes filled with regret that came too late. My brother couldn't even meet my gaze. Outside, the night air was cold, clean, the kind of cold that doesn't sting, it clarifies. I walked away knowing this wasn't victory. It was equilibrium. The scales had finally aligned. And as the wind brushed against my face, I realized something simple. Forgiveness isn't always noble. Sometimes it's just forgetting they ever had power over you. I got into my car, started the engine, and didn't look back. The glow of their house faded in the mirror. All that remained was silence, and the faint reflection of my own calm smile. Because finally, after all these years, I wasn't surviving. I was winning.
How could you do this?